Is up again, everyone. Welcome back to the Damsel in Success podcast. Today I wanted to pick up some, actually, rather, on what we talked about yesterday with breaking the broken cycle. Now that I'm awake and caffeinated, I can maybe put together some thoughts for you. Um, so I want to start by saying that no matter what kind of trauma or abuse or anything that you've experienced, don't let anybody tell you that that's not trauma or that it's not abuse. If you feel like it's trauma, if it's affecting you, then it really doesn't matter what they say. I mean, there's some people that try to argue that verbal abuse is not abuse, and that's absolute horse crap. So, if it is affecting you in some way, don't let anybody try to downplay that, because your feelings are your feelings, and that's fine. It's fine to have them. It's unhealthy to try to push them away because somebody says that they're not legitimate feelings. Come on now. We're not doing all that. Um so yeah, like I said, this is whether it was, a relationship or, maybe your parents or whatever. The first step to that is going to be realizing that whoever had hurt you is a person, and we all know that people are not perfect by no means. We are in a fallen world, and I'm not saying that that gives them any right to hurt you in any way. They never had the right to do that, but I'm saying that we have to, in order to start healing from it. Then I'm not saying this is going to work overnight, but if we're going to heal from whatever past hurt, trauma, anything that we've had, we have to look at it a little more subjectively. Okay. So whenever we feel that trauma, we feel that hurt, we feel all that, there's some really strong emotions tied to whatever situation or event happened. Um, and if we can take a step back and look at it and say, okay, what was rational and what was not? This is wrong. We know this is wrong. But, did I add any drama to this? Did I add some extra emotions to this? And that's, again, not like somebody just totally disqualifying your emotions. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I'm just trying to say separate your emotions from what actually happened. And that's going to help you start trying to disassociate yourself with that situation, because whatever happened did not define you. And it never will. It never will. And, I think that we hold ourselves to such a high standard that, especially if it's something high profile that happened to us, that, we think that that's just part of our being. And that's just not the case at all. We are only defined by what we want to be defined by. And it has nothing to do with anybody else or what anybody else has done to us or has made us feel or anything like that. So I just want you guys to be very, very conscious of that. And then also, whenever we have feelings now that, may have stemmed from something that came from us, either through a toxic relationship or through our parents or whatever. So, like if you had parents that were unreliable or a spouse that was unreliable, you are going to be a lot more apt to be really self-reliant, and it'll be really hard for you to accept help from other people. That's something I still kind of deal with from a past relationship, because I was so used to having to do everything myself. And, yeah, that's a sign of strength or whatever, but it's also, it takes somebody really strong to accept help. And I just want you guys to never ever think that, you're unworthy because you accept help, or you are, not a good parent or not a good person or whatever because you accept help from somebody. That's not the case at all. It's actually quite the opposite. If you are strong enough to accept help, that's really awesome. That makes you a stronger person to be able to do that. So strive towards that. Like I said, it's not going to be an overnight fix. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take some very, very conscious, diligent effort, but you can get there. I promise you. And it's just like, if we've ever felt any kind of rejection, no matter who it was from, that almost invokes this feeling of unlovable, like that you're just unlovable, that you're unwanted, that you're, nobody will ever want you, and, all this kind of stuff. And that's not true. That's just absolutely not true. And, it's kind of, it's kind of sad, but like I've told you guys before, it's a natural reaction that we have because our brains, really the only thing that our brains are meant to do is to keep us alive. And there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on that's like just a natural reaction. Like if we're rejected, then it's almost like our brain just tries to shut down any future relationships because we don't want to get hurt again. Because it hurts to go through a breakup, it hurts to go through a fight, it hurts to go through any of that kind of stuff, and our brain is consciously trying to keep us from doing any of that. So I challenge you guys to, well, there's two different options that you have here. And what kind of helped for me is, if something happened to me as a kid, I was living in that moment from, a kid. And kids are just not able to process things like adults are. They're not able to, like I told you guys earlier, separate what something rational that actually happened versus my emotions and not being able to process it as a kid. And whenever I was able to look back on that and say, okay, here's what really happened and here's how I've perceived it for 20 years, and then you have to go back and just kind of deal with it that way and deal with it, with the things that you know now and the experiences that you have now. And you don't, some things are not worthy of being forgiven, and I get that. I completely understand that. And I'm not trying to rush you guys into doing it, but I'm just telling you, forgiveness is not for your abuser, it's for yourself. It's to set yourself free because that person has damaged you enough, and you holding on to those memories and that hate and those negative feelings is not doing anything to harm them. But it's tearing you apart. And so I just pray that you guys take that advice and you go back and you relive it as you are now and just work towards it. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but for not only for your sake, but for your kids' sake, for your relationships, for the people around you, for the people that you're meant to inspire, for the people that you're meant to help. They need you at your best self. And it's people that were physically, mentally, however abused as a kid, can be that much more likely to be triggered whenever they're parents and whenever, they have kids. And that's how that cycle just keeps happening. And, your kids didn't ask for that. And, honestly, whenever you're an adult, you are 100% responsible for your own actions. Yeah, there's things that have shaped us. Yeah, there's really bad things that have happened. But it's up to us and only us to stop that cycle, to break that cycle now and raise healthy kids who know how to deal with things, who know how to, deal with the stresses of everyday life. And, they shouldn't be terrified of their parents. They shouldn't be traumatized by their parents. I mean, I'm not saying that we have to be perfect because Lord knows that we absolutely are not. But we can take steps each day to be better humans, to be better people, and that way we can raise better people. Because if you have some trauma, some childhood trauma that you've never dealt with, and you're triggered by it pretty regularly, that can be passed on to your kids, and then their kids, and their kids, and their kids. But if you stop it, if you make that conscious reaction or that conscious decision now, and you really start trying to deal with the things in your past, and you really, try to deal with things in a healthier way instead of passing them on, because you're the only one that can do that. We cannot change the past. There's nothing we can do about whatever has already happened. And the only thing that we can control is our own actions. We can't control other people. We can't change other people. We can't make people want to change. We can't make people be sorry. We can't make people do anything. But that's not your call to make. That's not for you to handle. Those other people, they have to answer for their own problems. You don't. You only have to answer for yours. And if you spend your whole life letting somebody else control you, whether it's just in your own head or not, that's on you. You've got to rise above this. I know that you can do it. If there's ever anything that I can do for you, y'all know, reach out to me, let me know. I'm always, always, always happy to help. And I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your Friday night, and we'll talk to you again soon.